Hey everyone, this is the weigh-ins for UFC 181. MMA latest here. We have Cody, John, Jordan, and me, Casey. We're going to be breaking down all the fights and discussing things and probably get off topic, as always, and just dissect the card. So before we do anything, does anyone have anything to say before we jump into the first fight?
I'm pretty happy that Brandon Vera got a win. I just want to throw that out there.
Who? I couldn't hear you.
Oh,
Brandon
Brandon Vera?
Brian Rivera?
Brandon Vera.
Oh, from 1FC. I heard Brian. I'm sorry, man.
It's all good.
Yeah, that knockout was nice.
Yeah.
Very nice knockout. Has that whole event ended?
Yeah.
I gotta go check the results on that. On the side note,
Who?
I'll actually pop it up for us if I can.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched most of it.
Yeah. Do you want to do a quick run through, not break it down, but just see who won?
Sure, I haven't watched it yet. Do
Do you want us to spoil it? Do you want no spoils or no?
I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bibiano, as always, won against Dai Hwan Kim.
That was incredible.
It was a slick submission, man.
Oh yeah, it says it right here. Nice.
It was, dude. He took his back on a really nasty transition.
Submission, in parentheses, slick.
They should have that on his record. Very. Thick.
No, it was fun, man. I had it on. I was kind of watching it on my while I was at work. I probably shouldn't say that if my employer ever watches this, but it's okay. I was kind of watching.
They probably watch. I'm gonna be honest. They probably watch.
Well, while I was doing work, I was kind of keeping an eye on it. Hodger Gracie beat James McSweeney.
Yeah, that was a weird fight, man. That was
a very weird fight. I guess the things of note. So Timothy Nastyushkin, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, beat Edward Folyang with one of the most disgusting, brutal knockouts ever, like a flying knee to ground and pound / soccer kick, brutal knockout.
Yeah, if that happened over here in North America, that would be like a knockout of the year candidate for sure.
Yeah, well, I think it should be a knockout of the year candidate, and that's actually one of the more compelling videos to make me be not a huge fan of soccer kicks, because it was almost disturbing watching that, man.
Yeah, soccer kicks should be legal, but the refs seem to be bad. I mean, it's not should or shouldn't. I mean, you can have an argument, but that ref was terrible, right? I
saw one really good argument against it. It was basically saying that soccer kicks you don't need to be technical to be able to land a soccer kick, because there's not a really good defense against a soccer kick, and you don't have to have a lot of technical striking ability to be able to do a soccer kick. You just run up and kick.
I get that.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that as being valid. I mean, I'm not. I don't really care where MMA goes with them.
I'm not super one way or the other.
Consistent. I'd prefer it across the board to be consistent, but yeah.
Yeah.
The ref ruined that. Whether you agree with it being there or not, that ref was bad.
Sure.
He let him get hit so much afterwards. Sorry.
No, that's fine. But that being said, I like the idea of soccer kicks because or even knees to a grounded opponent, because there's so many times where a guy will get rocked or he'll shoot in for a takedown, and I mean really, if the fighter that was being taken down was able to create distance and land knees, it would be a completely different fight, and you wouldn't see guys hanging on to legs nearly as much as they do.
Yeah, you see guys that have good sprawls and good head-arm chokes and head-arm position, good wrestlers with that, like Matt Hughes. Yep. Imagine Matt Hughes with that rule set. Yeah. You never saw him get stuck on a leg, but you'd see people get on his leg and he would sprawl out and just choke him and shit. That would have been a great Matt Hughes tool back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Just reminiscing. Okay.
Next.
Okay, Cody, give us. Well, I'm on the wrong page. I went to look at 1FC, sorry. Clay Collard versus Alex White at 145 pounds, I believe.
Yep.
Must be dropped.
I'm a huge Clay Collard fan. I've only seen his last fight. I've only seen the one, but man, was it good. Should have got fight of the night with him and Holloway. It's really unfortunate that they didn't get fight of the night. But as much as a fan I am of Collard, I don't see him winning against Alex Smith. I think Alex Smith has...
Alex White.
White?
Alex White,
whoops. Whoops, my bad. I clicked on Alex Smith for somehow. Darn sure dog. Yes. White. Yeah, they put on Smith. Anyway, Alex White. He's got superior grappling, so it seems, and it's just a bad matchup for Collard, I think. Collard doesn't seem to have as much finishing ability, and not as good grappling. Again, So I think Alex Smith will take this by unanimous decision, if not late submission.
Okay, John, your thoughts on this fight?
I think that it's legitimately a toss-up, and the betting line reflects that right now. They're both minus 115. I feel just in a nutshell. I don't want to talk too much about the first fight of the night, even though this has the potential to be an incredible fight. Basically, I'm signing off on what. Sorry, I forget your name. This is the second. Cody. This is only the second time we've talked. Sorry, but I sign off on everything you've said. The only thing is, Clay. Yeah, damn it, man. I'm just tripping over my words. Sorry. Clay. He's got a really aggressive style, and because of that, he leaves a lot of openings. And I think that Alex White can capitalize on the openings that Clay leaves. And I think also too, he slows down as the fight continues. And I think that's gonna come back and haunt him. And yeah, I think he's gonna get stopped by Alex.
Jordan?
I kind of agree with you guys. I think this is a fight where both of these guys might be pretty impressive at some point in their careers. I know Clay Collard's like 21, and I mean Alex White's not much older. He's like 25, 26.
Yeah.
White looks pretty good in his last fight against Lucas Martin. I think he fought Martins, right?
Yep, got knocked out in the third round.
Yeah, it was a good fight though, man. Like they kind of wobbled each other. It was a really good fight. And Collard had a really good fight with Max Holloway. So, both these have a lot of potential. I'm taking Alex White just because he impressed me a little bit more. Like Collard was like a super late replacement. I think that might have thrown Holloway off a little bit. Like as much of a disadvantage as it is coming in at last minute, like it can be an advantage in some ways where Holloway was prepping for a totally different fighter, and then Collard came in there with a totally wild man style and just super aggressive. And I see a bright future for both these guys, but I'll take Alex White.
Okay, I'm coming in this being the heel. I am taking Clay Collard by decision or TKO in the second or third. I disagree with everyone here. I think Clay Collard is the more technical striker. I think their hitting ability would lean slightly to Alex White, but I was unimpressed with the technical ability against Lucas Martins by Alex White. I don't think, other than his power, I don't think he was very competitive in that fight. He got dropped several times. He clearly lost the fight all 3 rounds, if I remember. Was it exciting? Did he prove he was tough as balls? Has he got grappling that could take this? Yes, but I don't think his wrestling's that good, at least not good enough to get Collard down. And I think a close fight against Holloway is a lot more impressive than getting beat by Martins the way he did. I think they both have potential. I'm just leaning Collard because that dude, I think he's got a lot more upside to him. I think he's got a lot more he can learn, and he's already more technical in my opinion. But I could be totally wrong. The line's so 50-50, but I'm going to be the heel. I'm taking Collard.
Fair enough.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I like them both. I think White gets really wild, and we all can agree on that. He will go berserker sometimes, but he's got the power to knock out a heavyweight. We've seen that the dude can make you go night like a jinx.
Yeah, he KO'd Payan.
Yeah, that was nasty. I thought he could. He still could do more, but I mean, like, I don't know. He gets wild. He has to use the wildness to get stuff like that.
You're right. You're definitely right.
Good fight. Okay, John, let's have you take on Sergio Pettis versus Matt Hobart.
Okay. I love this fight. I think it's noted that. It needs to be noted that Sergio Pettis he's pretty. He's been not thrown to the wolves, but there's a lot of undeserved hype behind it because of his last name, and in my opinion, like even though he's 2-1 in the octagon so far, I haven't really been too impressed with what he's done. I mean, the Yatsen Meza fight was a pretty competitive fight, and realistically, like if Sergio Pettis if he came out and I thought he was too passive, and if he would have been more aggressive, it would have been a different fight. But I don't know, man. Like I'm just not impressed with him. I think that he has a lot of undeserved hype, and whatever. He's really young. But about Matt Hobart, basically, actually, I'm not going to really break this down. Basically, because of Pettis' performance in his last fight with Meza, I'm going to go and I'm going to pick Hobart to squeak out a decision. And the logic behind that is because Matt Hobart is a much, much better wrestler than Meza was, and I think that this is going to be an upset, and I think this for the people betting, I think that this is going to be your parlay buster, and yeah, that's it.
Jordan?
I agree. I'm right there with you, man. I got Hobart. He's a very, very good wrestler, and I completely agree with you, man. I think Pettis, even though he's young and he's still kind of growing into his frame, he's really small. He's a small guy, man. He could easily probably drop down to 125.
I don't know why he hasn't, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably because he's really young, man, and they're probably still waiting for him to kind of maybe fill out. I don't know that it's going to happen, though, just because he has a small frame. But, I mean, Hobart, if you watch the weigh-ins, he was dramatically bigger than Pettis, man. He's 4 or 5 inches taller than him, and he's a really good wrestler. I think Pettis is, unless he can work his guard really well and maybe pull off a sub or land some really clean strikes on Hobart before he can get it to the ground, I really like Hobart in this fight. I think this is stylistically a nightmare for Pettis and a really good fight for Hobart.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be the heel again. I'm picking Pettis, I think. But I do agree with everything. Well, actually, no, I'm not picking Pettis. I'm actually picking Hobart if I'm betting. If you're betting on this fight, do not bet on Pettis. The odds are really messed up. You guys are right. He's a lot better than the odds are telling you he is. So not going to break down the odds, but yeah, if you're betting, bet on Hobart. But I have to differentiate between Hobart has great top control, but I wouldn't say he's the greatest wrestler. Like takedown-wise, his takedowns aren't the most impressive in my opinion. He struggles to get people on. Aaron Phillips do zero wrestling from Louisiana, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
They don't wrestle there. Like, I mean, the few people, like Cormier, but he immediately jumped out. Like, I mean, very few people come out of that state knowing how to wrestle, and he doesn't. And he got him, but he struggled a lot with him once he got on top of him, yeah. And I think that Hobart, if he gets him down, can sit on him for a decision, but I don't think he can sub him, and I don't think he can strike with him. And we've seen what happens when Hobart tries to strike with people. Nothing against him, but it's sloppy. And we know what his style is, and it's a great style. I love this style. He's going to get on top of you, grind, and work for a submission or something. But I think Pettis can keep him off and work his guard if he does get down there. If he does go down there, I see Hobart winning every round where he gets on top. But if Pettis can sprawl out, I think he just outclasses him on the feet. And I don't know. I don't know. I just have, ever since his first fight from the guy with RFA, I've been kind of off Hobart. I don't think he's going to go that far with his style, with the lack of hardcore explosion takedowns like Khabib. See like how Khabib does it? Mm-hmm. Like he can take heavyweights down. Hobart doesn't have that, so that's why I'm. But I agree, undeserved hype. Cody, give it to us.
There's not really much more to add to that, so I'll just give a prediction, and I'm also going with Pettis. I'm going to say TKO by Pettis. But I can very well see it being and actually it just may probably be a crowbar decision.
Yeah, definitely betting. Take that. If the odds are, it's like what is it, plus 250, right?
It's he is plus 210 and Pettis is minus 270. And yeah, like I'm not comfortable like playing that sort of juice on someone that has been. He looked flat. He's looked flat in almost all of his fights. Yeah. He's
scared to mess up that lineage. I think that thing. You know what I'm talking about? Like with his
he's
brother.
Young, man. He's really young.
His last fight, it was like he just stood there. It was like
I mean, he won clearly, but he could have finished it. You know, he could have.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get why he really does. He wants to protect his record because his brother is so accomplished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get the mindset, and I mean, none of us are that young in that same position. I can see why it's hard. So. I can identify with why he's doing that. But yeah, I agree. Bet it, go that way, and he could get slipped. Who do we have? I moved the tab, sorry. Raquel Pennington versus Ashley Evans Smith. Jordan, give us a lowdown.
This one is I'm a little bummed out because we were supposed to see the debut of Holly Holm in this fight.
Yeah.
Who was replaced because she had a neck injury, I believe, which is scary, man. Neck injuries are nothing to mess around with. So hopefully she can get that taken care of, and we'll see Holly Holm at some point because she's got a ton of hype behind her with a really accomplished striking background. But anyways, for this fight, Ashley Evans Smith comes in as a late replacement, and I think she actually has a very endearing style as far as beating Raquel Pennington. So Raquel Pennington is very tough. She obviously, if you watched her on Ultimate Fighter, she comes forward and throws strikes. basically just sits in the pocket and throws that 1-2, and every once in a while will throw, slip a hook to the body in there. But pretty much she's pretty straightforward striking-wise. She's got a pretty technical jab cross. But Ashley Evans Smith actually hasn't fought maybe the competition that Pennington has, but she's looked really good in the fights she's had. She beat up Fallon Fox, which is, leave that outside or whatever, take that for what it's worth. But she did. She TKO'd Fallon Fox. She's beat up the girls she's fought outside of the UFC. So this is her debut on a late replacement. I'll take Ashley Evans Smith by decision.
Okay, I'm next. Sorry. I'm taking Smith. I think that hasn't faced the same level. It's not like Raquel Pennington has beat those people. She's lost most of those fights. I think nothing against her, but I think that they're mostly losses.
Yeah.
Not a negative record, but she's lost to like the bigger names on her record.
Yeah, you're right.
Where are they? Let me find her. Sorry, I was on Evans. Yeah, she lost to Andrade, Leslie Smith, Zagano, and Tori Adams. She has wins over Madafri. Love Madafri. Roxanne. Not the biggest win in a decision. I don't know. I think that Ashley Evans Smith, she's a decent level. Well, actually, I think she's a pretty high level wrestler. I think she was a state champ where she's from.
She trains at Rain with Mark Munoz and stuff. Yeah,
I know she's a decent wrestler at the very least. I'm pretty sure she's a high level one. I think she's physically more adept than her opponent. I think she's just going to be able to wrestle her to death. I mean, we saw it with Fallon Fox. I think Pennington struggles with that. She's got pretty technical jiu-jitsu, but I don't see her being able to stop Smith. Pennington has the better striking, maybe, but I think the athlete is Evan Smith. The wrestling is, and I think she's got more upside to her career. I'm taking her. She's a pretty decent favorite, but I mean, I think she's gonna bulldoze her unless Pennington pulls some veteran trick out of her hat. Cody?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with both the two of you. Athletically, she's superior, as well as just a fighter. I haven't been particularly impressed with Pennington, to be honest. I mean, she seems like a very nice girl, or woman, but I just don't see her winning this fight whatsoever. She has more experience in the pro circuit and on the higher stage than does Evan Smith, but no, I don't see her beating her. I got Smith by decision.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet too. This is parlay fodder right here. I think a lot of action's going to come fight night on her. I'm not going to say it's a pretty sure. I would never say it's a for sure thing. However, if you just match up what both fighters are good at, Ashley Evans Smith is slightly better in almost everything except for, as you said earlier, maybe striking. But I haven't seen that much of Raquel. But the last fight I did see, it was kind of I would compare it to like a brawling style almost. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? It's not really that technical. It's more of a brawl. But I think that Ashley Evans Smith is gonna, unless some fluke happens or she gasses hard because it is their debut, I really think that she has all the tools necessary to beat Pennington. And yes, so I'm going to take her.
Agreed. Jordan?
I already went on this one. I started that one.
Oh, sorry. For some reason, I thought I was the one that started that.
No, you're good.
Okay. The next fight is Corey Anderson versus Justin Jones. Corey Anderson recently won tough. As we remember, he knocked out Matt Van Buren, not Martin Van Buren.
He went back and knocked the ex-president out.
Yeah, Matt Van Buren, the gigantic man that he is, he knocked him clean unconscious. And Justin Jones, the late replacement. Not a lot is known about this guy. I did see his last fight, though, which is actually rare for one of these guys. I did see this live. I remember watching it.
It was an RFA fight.
Yeah, against John Hackelman Jr., which is John Hackelman, everyone knows, from the Pit Elevated, his son. Quite a good prospect in his own right. And if I remember correctly, he dominated him pretty quick. But he's a decent prospect. I mean, it's not the biggest one. The guy has less fights. No, it was both their third fight, so neither of them had a whole lot of experience. But he went out there and he showed, if I remember correctly, better wrestling, and he just subbed him real quick. He looked like the bigger physically guy, and he looks like a big guy for this weight decently. Corey Anderson looks pretty enormous too, so I don't know how much that'll matter so earlier in their careers. But Corey Anderson just looked like a monster. Take that for what it is, because Martin Van Buren didn't look like he had an enormous chin on tough. and he just clean KO'd him, or got clean KO'd by Corey Anderson. I think Corey should win with his slightly better record against slightly better people, and on tough, he looked very impressive. Not a whole lot of finishes the whole time, but he was impressive. So, I mean, it's a late notice fight. I mean, you can't really say a whole lot. But yeah, Corey Anderson for me. Cody, can you take what are your thoughts on this?
Again, take the words right out of my mouth. I got Beast in 25-8, and that's actually how I'm gonna decide how I think this matchup is gonna unfold. If you divide 25 by 8, you get 3.125. So my prediction is that Corey Anderson will win in the third round, about a minute and 25 seconds into it. TKO, I call it.
That's awesome.
You're awesome, Cody. John, your thought? Or did John leave?
No, John's here.
John. We've lost him. We've lost our wee mate.
All right, that's fine. I will.
Yeah.
I'll hop in for him while he's frozen up. So I'm really high on Corey Anderson, kind of the way you were really high on Hector Urbina last time. I'm really high on Corey Anderson, partly because he's fights out of from where I'm at, but I mean he's got a really solid wrestling base. Dude trains with Ben Askren. I know you're not super high on Ben Askren, but he goes up there and he trains with he trains. I think he splits time between Rufus's camp and over with like Mark Henry and Frankie Edgar's camp over there because he's got Almeida was with him at the weigh-ins. So he's training with some top level guys. He's got the size and athleticism, and he's got a strong wrestling background, which is obviously very important when transitioning to MMA. And his striking has clearly improved dramatically because I assumed that his fight with Van Buren was going to go like they ring the bell, he slams Van Buren down and subs him in like 10 seconds. That's basically what I saw happening. But anyways, he just stood and just dominated him on the feet, which is surprising. So I think Anderson probably wins this one however he wants. He's probably if he gets a couple more wins, he was supposed to fight John Vellante in this fight, who is, I mean, a journeyman to say the least. But I mean, he's a solid fighter. So Vellante was injured, late replacement. I don't know that if he wins this fight, it'll say much for him either way. But I'm pretty high on Corey Anderson. I expect him to win this fight handily.
Agreed. Good picks. How was the last one? So, Cody, can you give us... You'll start on Eddie Gordon and Josh Salmon. I realize they're both from Tough together. It's kind of interesting. They're both their second fights are together on another fight card.
Yeah. Gordon and Anderson are both the Tough winners.
Yeah, Gordon and Salmon. Give us your thoughts, man.
I was really impressed with Eddie Gordon, his fight against Lima. I did not expect that, especially having a lot of close friends to Lima and just knowledgeable of Gwinnett top team. I expected Lima to do very well. If he was going to lose, I did not expect it to be that quickly or that dominantly. Eddie Gordon just completely overwhelmed him. Eddie Gordon seems just like a physical monster, as well as Saman. Saman is just, you look at the man, he looks like he should be modeling in like bodybuilding.
He's huge, man.
Stuff. You know what I mean? Like, the guy is shredded. But Saman's been on a long layoff, man. He's been going through a lot of stuff personally, with the death of his girlfriend and so on. It's so I don't think he's. I mean, he might be in a good place mentally, but ring rust is a legitimate thing, and he has that against him. I also thought that Eddie Gordon looked just more impressive in his tough run than did Saman. Obviously, as Saman lost, given it was to Kelvin, and Kelvin's been doing incredible since then. But yeah, again, I think Saman's great, and I think he has a good future in the UFC. But I don't think this is a good matchup for him. So I got Eddie Gordon winning this one.
John, you're back now.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. We're on Josh Salmon, and Eddie Gordon. What are your thoughts on that fight?
Just really quickly. I do believe the fight is actually taking place on his now deceased girlfriend's birthday, and from what I understand, he's dedicating everything to this. And I mean, there's certain feel-good moments that happen organically in mixed martial arts, and this has the potential to be one of them. Can you imagine? Because he's a betting underdog too. Could you imagine if he wins this fight and dedicates it to his dead girlfriend? And yeah, how they match up is whatever. I haven't seen enough footage to actually give a detailed breakdown of this fight. However, I do think that Josh is a more diverse striker, and I think he's going to outpoint Eddie. Honestly, I know he's an underdog, but I think the underdog is going to take it this time, and we're going to have our feel-good moment.
Jordan?
Yeah, I've flip-flopped on this one a lot. Josh Salmon looked pretty good on Ultimate Fighter, honestly. He won his first 3 fights. I think he stopped all of them. I think he had a couple TKOs and a sub, and then obviously lost to Kelvin Gastelum, which is, it is what it is. But Eddie Gordon really, really impressed me, man. And I mean, granted, Lima should be fighting at 170, which I think he is dropping down to 170, which is where he should have been. He shouldn't have been fighting at 185. But I think Eddie Gordon will be strong enough to kind of decide where this fight takes place, as far as like if he can pressure Salmon up against the fence and make him fight that ugly clinch game and land some big bombs. So Eddie Gordon, I really like the camp he fights. That whole like New York MMA scene right now is just blowing up, man. Those guys are all I don't know if they're just training really, really well or what's going on, but he's fighting out of that Sarah Longo camp. That's putting out so many beasts right now, and I'll take Eddie Gordon. I think it's going to be a close fight, though.
Okay, man, I like what you guys have said. I'm torn on this fight, and I agree. I want the feel-good moment, and I do actually have some reasons to lean on Simon, and I think he did look a lot better on Tough. While he did not win, I think that Tough season was a lot better. I'd say a lot more talent came out of his. Admittedly, this season is newer. A lot more talent, in my opinion, came out of that previous group. I mean, honestly, I don't think that anyone will do is. They can prove me wrong. There's a lot of young guys like Anderson, like Kelvin, who's top 5 right now. That's what I'm saying. That was one of the best. I mean, we've always had that weird thing with Tough where it's like, is the talent really that good? And everyone, sometimes it's just nope, and then we get a season like that where no one really thought it was, other than Dana White talking up Uriah Hall, but a lot of talent really came out of that season. And while he lost, I think he looked better. I think other than pure knockout power and maybe wrestling, I think he's better. But with the long layoff, like Cody brought up, the rust, it's a real thing. I mean, sometimes guys overcome it, but I mean, it's real. I'm going to pick Simon on the hopes that he does it because Eddie Gordon's still very raw. But I think if Simon can keep his head straight and use a real good game plan, not letting this turn into a just tit for tat, because I think if that happens, Gordon's going to knock him out just because I think he's got superior power. But if he can avoid that, I think he's more technical, and I think he can get the win here. So I don't know if I'll pick him so much as I hope he'll win. I would stay away from this fight. If you're betting or really picking it hard, it's a fight where it's going to tug at your heartstrings, and it's a fight where 2 guys, it could go anyway, really. It depends on what they choose to do that night. But yeah, that's my pick. I think it was the last one. Did Cody start that?
I did.
Okay, then let's jump into.
Hey, we had somebody join. Hey, how's it going?
Who do we have?
Atheist.
The Neo-Atheist. Yeah, what's that? Whoa.
I think his name was Michael, maybe?
Looks like the Matrix, bro.
What's up, Mike?
Is that his name? Oh, he didn't like us.
See you, Mike.
Bye.
Okay, well, let's get into the next fight. The greatest,
Did
one
he
and
even
only.
exist?
Who? I don't know. Let's get into the next fight. The greatest, the one. I didn't. I'm not that good. We got Uriah Faber versus Francisco Rivera. John, let's have you start us off on these 2 guys real quick.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, obviously Faber is coming into this fight like a huge favorite, and rightfully so. Francisco Rivera, while he is a really good power puncher, I mean, we saw that when he TKO'd Figueroa, and when he just absolutely dummied George Roop. And I actually thought George Roop was going to win that fight. I was like, yeah, this is a good fight for George Roop. Yeah, and I like George Roop quite a bit. I think there's something ridiculous about a guy that's like, I don't even know how tall he is, like 6'1", and he makes like bantamweight. It's almost comical, and because of that, I love George Roop. But he absolutely dummied him, and stylistically. Uriah has many more ways to win than Rivera does. That being said, I mean, Uriah Faber is getting old, and yeah, he's 35, and for the lighter guys, I mean, that's like really, really old. Like heavyweights can get away with being older and still being like one of the best in the world. Cain Velasquez is like 31, isn't he? And he's like one of the younger heavyweights on the entire roster. But what I wanted to say is this could be like the fight that, you know, it starts going down for Uriah. Like he was dummied. Even though it was kind of a questionable stoppage, Barao dummied him his last fight.
Oh, yeah, dominated him.
It seemed like he had magnets in his fists, and Uriah's face was metal. Whenever he wanted to tag him, he did. And this could be that fight. I mean, Rivera does have that kind of power in both hands, and if he does land on Uriah, he could finish him if Uriah is on that slow decline. But that being said, he hasn't given any indication that he is, but it's always possible. I'm going to take Uriah Faber. I mean, he's probably going to submit him, I think. I don't think it's going to go to the judges' scorecards, but I don't know. Maybe first-round submission, I think.
Good. Jordan, I liked it. You covered a lot. It was in depth.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not really going to talk about this fight a lot because I guess what I'll talk about more is it's a really weird position that Uriah Faber is in right now because I think it's hard to sell him for a title fight. Like, I think he can beat basically anyone maybe outside the top two guys at 135 right now, but it's hard to sell him as a title contender because, you know, he's had so many chances and he's been beaten emphatically many times, you know. And I love Faber, and it's awesome. I think it's really smart, and I think a lot of it's on his doing that he gets the last fight on the prelim card.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people watch that fight leading into the pay-per-view, which maybe not as many people will buy. So I think it'll be Uriah wins by submission. I think as soon as he gets the fight to the ground, I don't think Rivera's got much for him. So when Faber gets it, I just think it's really interesting because Faber is such a marketable guy and he's such a fan favorite. At the weigh-ins, you know, the crowd went nuts for him when they announced him, and he went out for his weigh-ins. So it's interesting to me because like at this point he could probably pick and choose fights. I don't know if he's trying to gear up for another title run. I mean, I don't see it happen, especially now that Dominic Cruz is back and looked so dominant against Takeya Mizugaki. Like, I don't see a world where Faber puts up a really tough fight with Cruz, and he's already been beaten up by Barao too. So, you know, it's just interesting going forward, noting what's going to happen with Uriah Faber. But I think he wins this fight easily.
Can I jump in real quick? I just wanted to say. I agree with you about what you said about the Barao because he lost twice. But if Cruz does get the belt, I think that trilogy, that's money. Like, that's huge money, and that's really the only way Uriah Faber is going to get another title shot, in my opinion, is if Cruz wins. But also too, would it like? We're both saying that he's going to submit Rivera, but would it surprise you if he dummied him up on the feet? Like Rivera got dummied a few times by Mizugaki in their last fight, and Faber is way better of a striker than Mizugaki is. So I mean, would it surprise you if he rocked him? And then...
I would say Faber has more power than Mizugaki. I think Mizugaki is a very technical striker, and I think Mizugaki's got really slick combination, and I think that's what he was hitting Rivera with. It wouldn't surprise me if Faber rocked Rivera at all, because I've seen him rocked a few times, and Faber does hit hard, you know, and he's sneaky. He's sneaky how quick.
Yeah, he's so quick.
He is. So yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if he beat him up standing up, and I do agree with you, John. They could definitely sell that, you know, him versus Cruz for another one. So I don't think he has any shot at winning it, but that's a fair point that you brought up.
Well, actually, I'm gonna look it up, but I'm pretty. Wasn't it a 47, like 48-47? Like it was a really close fight, wasn't it?
It was it might have been. I think I scored it like 49-46, but
what fight?
The last Cruz Faber fight.
That fight was really close. It was one of those fights where even if you scored more rounds for one or the other, it's draw. That could have been a draw. I talk about this a lot. There was lots of rounds in that where you're like, almost every round in that's a draw. That's
So here's
not going to go anywhere than that. I'm just saying, there's a lot of rounds you would have to agree if smart people
what about
call draws.
Right. So Dillashaw's the champ. So like say Dillashaw, because I feel like he almost gets kind of looked over sometimes. Like say he defends that belt and he beats say Dominic Cruz gets up there and Dillashaw beats him up. Like Faber's obviously not going to fight Dillashaw, right?
Yeah.
No.
So.
Yeah, like I agree. He's not going to fight him.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know if you had anything other than that.
No. What do you think about this fight?
I think no. Other than John coming in after that, he brought up how Rivera lost to Mizugaki. And while I do agree, Mizugaki is probably underrated in his striking. I would not say in the wildest dreams that he's as technical, or as fast, or as anything as Faber in the striking. I think Faber, you put them in a kickboxing match, he beats Mizugaki 10 out of 10 times. And with that said, Mizugaki put on the beating on Mr. Rivera, and I feel like Faber is, if you were to say Faber's like anyone, you could say he's a lot like Mizugaki, but with superpowers, because he's better at him at everything by such a huge margin, and that's not, Mizugaki's not bad. Mizugaki is top 10. Like, he's been top 10, and he's really good, and he beats people you don't expect him to. So with that said, I think Rivera, who, you've seen Faber get rocked occasionally by some weird shit. I know you know what I'm talking about. He never gets, other than Barao, he never gets like put down though. Right. And he like against Yuri Alcantara, crazy shit happened in that lateral drops that you never expected from Yuri happened. Faber finds a way to win. This dude is too athletic, too much of a vet. His striking, while it doesn't seem super technical for that weight, it works. Okay, when your arms are this long, it works. And I'm in that group. When you're that short, I know how that works, and he's perfected that thing. He's not the greatest striker. But I think Rivera, who's probably more technical, doesn't have the speed, and I think he gets outclassed everywhere. I think he's going to get submitted in like a couple minutes, and that's nothing against him. His takedown, well, he's looked better and better. He was on like a 5 or 6 fight win streak. He wasn't beating anyone nearly as good as Faber. And George Roop, while I enjoy him, he beat Bowles. I mean, that's a great win. He got knocked out right after that too.
Yep.
So, I mean, Rivera, I enjoy watching him. He's fun to watch. I think this is a fight, not a give-me fight, but it's a fight Faber should just Super Saiyan Kamehameha blast his ass. And that's with a lot of respect for Rivera. Cody?
Rivera has the chances of the puncher's variety. I don't see him getting anything done. I mean, honestly, he's got great natural power. I think that's his only advantage over Faber, as you guys have been talking about, is his natural power.
Like you coined that term.
Not to take away from Faber at all. Faber definitely has power in his right hand, no doubt. But I mean, just naturally gifted power. Faber's a better striker. Faber's a better wrestler. He's a better overall grappler, jiu-jitsu artist, and ground fighter overall. Great at ground and pound. I see him flying through Rivera, and how does Faber win? He always wins by one of two ways, and that is guillotine choke or rear naked choke. So I'm calling Uriah Faber, after hurting Rivera on the feet and beating him up, to get choked out by Rivera in the early rounds.
What? Did you just say Rivera's going to choke out Faber?
I think you did on accident.
I think you accidentally said Rivera's going to. That'd be amazing. If you're calling the most what the fuck moment of tomorrow, if that happened, that would be the most what the fuck moment of the night. No matter what else happens, that would be the most what the fuck moment.
Leave his chopsticks out of this.
Okay. The chopsticks stay, Jordan.
I say keep them.
Balance out the frame.
Okay, who started that? I forgot.
I don't know. I think you did.
I did.
I did.
John did.
You started that, John? Okay, Jordan. Jordan, give us El Kakui, Tony Ferguson versus Abel Trujillo.
Okay. I think this could be a really, really fun fight. I think it could be a really, really short fight too. Trujillo hits like a truck, man. That dude's got serious power. I think Ferguson is a lot more well-rounded. I think Tony Ferguson has got some pretty slick wrestling, better than I realized anyways. And his fight with Castillo was pretty close, but I was really impressed with how Ferguson was working from everywhere. So even when he was on bottom, he was working some slick moves from his guard, and he had some really cool like up kicks that he was throwing and like takedowns while he was on his back and Castillo was standing up. So I'll take Ferguson by submission at some point in the fight because he's got those really long arms and he loves that darce and like throwing anacondas and stuff. So I'll take Ferguson by submission.
I like this. I'm gonna go in here. I really like Tony Ferguson because he's one of those guys that wrestles. He's got a good wrestling background, but he's not like the typical body style of a wrestler, and he knows it, and he uses what advantages he does have for wrestling, like the things he can take away from wrestling for his body style and leverage, and he uses them really, really well. And you don't see that a lot with guys with his body type. John Jones has superpowers, okay? John Jones has superpowers. Tony Ferguson uses those advantages really well. He has really technical striking. He's shown to, like, hittable, but not because he's not technical, because he loves the finish. And while I admire that, it can kind of put him in troubling waters, like against Kikuno, who's really entertaining and has lots of power. While he did finish him, he got hit a lot. Castillo hit him a decent bit. I have to say, the Castillo fight, I have no idea how, if I remember correctly, how you could score. I think the first 2 rounds for Castillo at all, and someone did. And I don't care. I'm like all about top position, but man, he dominated Castillo the first 2 rounds. You could say the last round, even though he was active as hell off of his back, you can say he was in top position, whatever. The first 2 rounds, I don't know. I think that was shit. I think dominant win for him. If you look at it from a realistic point of view, it was not very close. I think against Trujillo, who I think is a better wrestler than Castillo in MMA, not maybe in college or anything. Trujillo's got a better sprawl, but he's also crazier. And I say that with sense. He will do crazy shit. Same with El Kukui. But I think Kukui, if he goes in the fight not fighting like he fought Kikuno, he will win, and I think he'll win handedly. If he fights it all like he fought Kikuno, he is going to get knocked out, I think. Because his chin isn't the greatest of all time, and Abel Trujillo hits really fucking hard, okay? That's all I'm going to say. He hits really fucking hard. I think that's it. It's the mindset of Ferguson defines this fight. That's what I'll say. There we go. Cody, lay it down on us.
I think Ferguson's one of the most focused individuals I've ever seen in my entire life. If you just listen to the way the man speaks, it's just captivating. And I think he'll be too sharp. He'll be too smart and too focused to allow Trujillo to do any sort of mistake that he has made previously in other fights. I agree with you, Casey. I thought that he did win his last fight fairly decisively against Castillo, and I also am a wrestler, and I think, but yet I think that the statement that if you're on bottom, you're losing is ridiculous. It's absurd. If you're working, then, I mean, if you're getting hit from the bottom, then how are you losing? But anyway, or winning.
Yeah, you may not be able to win so much from the bottom as you can't just automatically lose.
Exactly, right. It's not like you're automatically winning the fight because you're on top. If you're getting punched in the face and you're not doing anything, but you're on top, you're still losing that fight.
Yeah, because he wasn't very active. Yeah. He wasn't very active.
Yeah, but regardless, Abel Trujillo, yeah, like you're saying, he's a monster. He broke my heart when he knocked out Jamie Varner. Actually, Jamie Varner broke my heart because Jamie Varner essentially jumped into that punch or gave him that knockout. It was just like, what are you thinking, Varner? But anyway, that was by Varner's own fault that he lost that fight, so it seems. But in the end, I'm taking Ferguson to win by decision. I could see a finish either by Mars, or as he calls it, I think, or some sort of precision striking combination. But yeah, I see Ferguson winning this fight.
John.
All right, first I'm going to talk about Abel. He's coming off that big win over Varner. Varner was actually getting the better of him before Jamie decided it would be in his best interest to abandon all of his technique and just throw haymakers. That was he basically handed the fight to Abel. That was Abel's best way to win the fight, and that's what happened. He actually Luca Fury said, I listened to his podcast today, and he said that there's a term called kill shot, and that would be the perfect example of a kill shot in MMA, because he shut down like a robot after Abel hit that punch on him. That being said, he's a brawler with huge strength, and he does have the ability and the power to probably put Ferguson away, but he's too defensively flawed. He's very hittable, And against a striker like Ferguson, I mean, Ferguson has very slick boxing on top of his grappling chops. So just hold that thought. I want to talk about Ferguson now. Back in, given this was a long time ago, this was back in 2011, he fought Yves Edwards, and I actually thought, even though he won that fight, I actually thought he lost that fight. I thought Edwards outpointed him on the feet, but the judges didn't see it that way. Also, while I don't think that Danny Castillo won that fight, I don't think that was dominant at all. I think that if Danny Castillo threw just a little bit more offense, he would have won that fight. He would have won that fight easily, but he just refused to be offensive. It was like, yeah, it was like he was, I don't know what he was doing. Like he cracked a joke at the end saying, you know, oh, I held down a grown-ass man and all that stuff, but I mean, yeah, you can't just lay on a guy. George St. Pierre takes a lot of shit, and a lot of people say he fights like a wet blanket, but that Castillo, that was legitimately like a wet blanket performance. Like he did nothing. He did nothing with that position. So while I don't agree that it was a dominant performance by Ferguson, I do think he won the fight. But as to who I think is going to win this fight, I'm leaning towards Ferguson. I do think he has. I think he's going to take a decision. I think I don't need to say anything any more about that. I think Ferguson takes this unless he decides to brawl with Trujillo.
I have to ask you. So you think that you think that Castillo remotely won the first 2 rounds? Because I don't think either.
No. I think that if he didn't refuse to be
offensive.
What am I trying to say? Yeah, if he was a little bit more offensive, he would have won that fight easily.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, those 2 rounds I think were pretty dominant. Do I think the overall fight was dominant? I don't know. I thought that there's no way you could give the first 2 rounds to Castillo. And I mean, if he'd fought different, could he have won? Maybe. I don't know how. It all depends on how Ferguson reacts. We're assuming he fights the same way. I agree though. If he did fight very weird in that fight. If he fought different, would he have won? I don't know. You can definitely say that. Would the fight have been different? Yes. I just think that what we saw, there's no way whoever scored one of the first 2 rounds is incompetent. Well, I agree that the 3rd round, yes, can be. It's a draw round in my opinion. That's another good example.
The best way that I could describe it is if the fight played out the exact same way that it did, but Castillo was more active from the dominant positions he had, he would have won. That's probably the best way.
I mean, the first 2 rounds, he actually was like, he got sat on 2 and he got rocked. Like, I remember him getting dropped in the fight. Like,
yeah, wasn't Ferguson on his back for like 9 minutes of that fight?
Yeah, but I mean, I think the first round was like completely one-sided. I could be wrong. The second round was closer, but he still was on top of Castillo too, and then Castillo got back on top of him. But it was all the damage was Ferguson. So I mean, if Castillo was on top and you're saying if maybe Castillo did damage while he was on top in that round, it might have evened it, and then it would have been like more murky.
Well,
but someone obviously gave it to him.
Not even damage. If Castillo would have done something. If he would have done something.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe he was afraid of his bottom. I don't want to go too far into that. I was just making sure, because, I mean, from a pure judging standpoint, I just can't see anyone who's competent in MMA giving those first 2. That's what I remember, because I was really pissed off. When we heard the split, I didn't know you guys then. I remember hearing the split, I'm like, oh my god, are we about to have this? It would be a robbery, in my opinion. It would be a robbery if he lost. But yeah, we'll go on. Jordan, I think you're up on this one, because you disappeared. What happened to you?
Oh, yeah, I just got, for some reason, my browser reloaded, so...
Oh, okay. Always the internet's. But yeah, we're on. Do you know who we're on? Or...
Yeah, Duffy Hamilton.
No, we're not. Wait, did you already do?
Yeah, I already went. Trujillo.
Man, I'm sorry. My head's crazy today.
It's alright. You streamed video games for 10 hours.
Yeah, I'm bad. Okay, let me get over here. Let me open up their records again. Okay, Todd Duffy, Anthony Hamilton. I had the pleasure of watching the Mr. Anthony Hamilton fight live. In the UFC, UFC San Antonio at Cum Swanson versus Stevens, that event, and I won a lot of money against him.
Nice.
I knew against Oleski Olenov or whatever, and he won too. Everyone remember that fight? What the fuck moment of the last UFC? That was it. Just saying.
Yeah.
Oleski, even though I picked against him, more power to him. But yeah, I called that shit. That it was a dude with like I don't know how many fights he had at the time, but it was like 6 or 7 times the fights for Oleski, and he has a very good record with like those 50, 60 fights or whatever it is. And he's really technical. Anthony Hamilton has got decent striking, is a decent athlete with not a lot of a ground game. Todd Duffy is a pretty great athlete with good striking, really good ground game, and he's way more experienced and I would say way more technical. I think as long as Todd Duffy doesn't just go out like a crazy man and just brawl, I think it's just this is a one-sided affair. Hamilton's tough, but like the key to beating him is Oleski. Take him down. Actually, Anthony Hamilton took Oleski. He swept him and armbarred him, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I'd have to check that.
Yeah. That's kind of Hamilton's MO, man. He tries to get people down and just use top position, and because he's a big dude, so he tries to use his size and just kind of control fights.
But he did it to Ruan Potts. Even though that fight, I thought it was a weird fight.
Did you ever see his fight? The last fight he had in the Canadian promotion, I don't remember.
MFC, no, it was against Schoonover though. I see it now.
Dude, it was one of the most aggravating fights I've ever seen, man. Because like I'm not a Schoonover fan, but like Anthony Hamilton took him down and literally did nothing for 5 rounds. The round would start, he would take him down, and like Schoonover couldn't get up. He couldn't get up, and so it was his fault. Like you need to be able to get up. Like more power to Hamilton for being able to take a guy down and do it, but like. He was doing nothing with his top position, like at all.
Yeah. I didn't see it, but I can see him doing that, and we've seen it. He tried to do it to Alexi, and he just got. I mean, immediately you just saw the level in jiu-jitsu or grappling, whatever. Because now his background is more wrestling and sambo-ish. Alexi just like immediately, whoop, you are fucked, and he did it to him. I was like, oh my god, awesome. With Ruan Potts, Anthony Hamilton looked. I mean, he looked good. I mean, he got the TKO, but it was like really fun. I was like. I get he was getting hit a bunch, but I mean, I was like, he didn't look impressive.
Potts isn't UFC level.
But I don't think Hamilton is either. I was really unimpressed with that win. While it been great, you TKO'd him. That whole fight, he was getting hit a bunch too. He wasn't doing anything that made me like, oh my god, this guy's got a whole bunch of talent. Nothing against him, but I mean, I'm not seeing anything here that's like, this guy's gonna beat Todd Duffy. Okay, nothing he's shown me is like this guy can beat Todd Duffy because Todd Duffy's gonna. If Anthony Hamilton comes out with the MO, I'm gonna take him down. He's gonna get sprawled and brawled. If he comes out the thing, he's going to strike with Todd Duffy, he's going to get outclassed, I think. Or he's going to get taken down and just immediately out-grappled. I just think that Anthony Hamilton is just a better athlete, a better fighter. And outside of a random crazy shit happening like Alexi last weekend with that punch, outside of that crazy shit happening, I think Todd Duffy is just better. And you see it in his interviews. He's talking about, he's like, I am just better than him. And I believe it, and I don't think that there's much else other than that. I think it's I don't know. Anthony Hamilton might surprise us, but no, I don't think so. Cody, give it to us.
Well, you got to keep in mind, Casey, that Anthony Hamilton has a win over the legendary, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Daryl Titty Schoonover. And that's something you can take to the bank. I mean,
come on, titties.
Enough said.
Come on, titties.
Come on. No, all right. You know, I agree with you completely, though. The only advantage that I see that Hamilton has in this fight is his activity. Because just Duffy's only fought twice in the past 2 years, and both of that were in 2012. And then 2 years prior to 2012, he's had 2 fights in 4 years. It's not good, man. You need more than that.
I agree.
I think, but the other thing is, I think Duffy is good enough to overcome that obstacle. So I also see it going the same way. I think Duffy's going to knock him out in the first round.
John, give it to us.
Yeah, I just want to add. Do you know who else is better? Do you know who else is Todd Duffy is better than? Mike Russo, and Mike Russo knocked him out. You know
True.
what I mean?
Yeah, I know, but Mike Russo possesses a lot more power.
Yeah, like
I agree.
Todd Duffy
it's the heavyweight division. It's the heavyweight division, though.
Yeah,
anything can happen.
Yeah, you're right. Todd Duffy is better everywhere than Anthony. He is a superior athlete. He's incredible. And I didn't watch the weigh-ins, but I heard that he's not looking like Superman anymore. That he's really leaned out. Is that true?
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the knocks on him was, again, because he's a big guy, he slows down as the fight progresses. So maybe now with this weight loss, he's probably got better cardio, that's good. I mean, I like that. But yeah, Todd Duffy on paper should win this, whichever way he wants. Like, he has the ability to stop Anthony. And I just wanted to say about Anthony, like, about his last fight, that was a really weird stoppage. In my opinion, that's like one of the most embarrassing stoppages, like in UFC. Like, he legitimately laid there. Ruan Potts, he legitimately laid there and did absolutely nothing for, like, I don't even know. He just laid there and did nothing. And then when the fight stopped, he's looking at the ref like, why? Why'd you stop the fight? Why? But I do think Todd Duffy's going to take this fight, and hopefully in the future we can see him fight more than once a year or twice. Yeah, he fought 4 times in 4 years, and hopefully after this fight we can see him fight, you know, maybe I don't know, in March or April or something like that.
Jordan?
Yep. I mean, I'm on the same train as you guys. I don't see any way that, I mean, besides a freak. I mean, these guys are heavyweights, so yeah, it's like you guys are saying. So, unless it's a freak lucky punch that Hamilton lands, I don't see any way he beats Duffy. I think Duffy had a lot of weird, like, health stuff going on. Like, I don't know what exactly it was, but I know that contributed to it too. I don't think it was just like injuries. I think he was like ill. I think he had like a weird like sickness.
You're right, he did.
Yeah. So I think that might have been part of it. So hopefully he can stay healthy. But I think he'll beat Hamilton, and I think, you know, if he beats Hamilton, Hamilton's going to be on really thin ice, because I know he has not impressed the UFC in his, you know, he got subbed by Oleski, and then he won a very pitiful, as you know, as John put it, embarrassing win over Ruan Potts. And I mean, while that shouldn't reflect that poorly on Anthony Hamilton, it does, because he didn't really do much. Like, Potts was laying there. He was begging to get stopped. And Hamilton really wasn't showing much aggression and will to finish. You know, it was a mercy stoppage more than anything.
He looked at the ref way too much. It pisses me off when fighters.
Yeah, I hate that.
Ref, stop doing that.
Right, the refs.
Stop hitting him.
Yeah.
And walk away and be like, I guess it's over, or keep hitting him. You need to like the ref. Don't do that.
But I agree. I think Duffy wins probably early, and hopefully he stays healthy and we get to see him fight soon.
I agree. Good to hear that. Okay, Cody. Give it to us. Travis Hopper Brown versus Brendan, the athlete job.
I think he's going by Big Brown job now, isn't he?
I know, but I felt like calling him that.
Oh. He better be going by Big Brown.
I like Big Brown,
part
but
of the Kid Army.
Yeah, he is.
He's big.
I love Big Brown. Love me some Big Brown. I love me some Big Brown. All right, so.
Lose my number.
Lift your shield, bro.
For sure, let me finish my thought. Mind your P's and Q's. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm really rooting for Brendan. I think Brendan's extremely underrated. Well, maybe not extremely, but I think he's underrated. I think people are counting him out way too easily in this fight. He poses a legitimate threat to Travis Brown, number 3 spot in the heavyweight division, or number 4 technically, in the heavyweight division. Number 3, I don't know which one it is off the top of my head, but the other thing is I think Travis Brown is a bad matchup for him. I think he has better striking than Brendan does. I don't think Brendan has the wrestling skills to get him down enough times, and jiu-jitsu skills enough to finish him. I think he's got better jiu-jitsu than him, and I think he can take Brown down. But I just don't see it happening enough for him to get a solid finish or to deliver enough damage to take Travis Brown out, because he just seems so durable, especially in his fight against Verdum. He just seemed unfinishable, so to speak. I mean, he had a broken leg. I mean, not a broken leg.
All right, Tito.
He had 2 broken legs, 5 broken arms.
My back was
2 or
broken.
3 more just to break him, just to show how durable he was. No, he had like a broken rib, broken foot, or something like that. Yeah, against the current interim heavyweight champion, but still would not relent. So that's impressive. However, here's the thing. I think if Travis Brown doesn't smack him in the face with his foot, and Brendan doesn't go out in the first round, You're going to see Brendan win by some tricky explicit. He's going to do something crazy. I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to do something wild in the early in the fight, and it's going to lead to the demise of Travis Brown, and Big Brown will rise to the top.
Wow.
Like it. John, give us your creme de la creme.
Well, I think that Brendan Schaub takes a lot of shit because of his loss to Big Nog and his loss to Rothwell. But I wanted to add, like, that was the last, in my opinion, I think that was the last time where Antonio really looked great. You know what I mean? That was the last fight where he looked great, and it was just down from there. He's a really, really smart guy because after those 2 knockouts, he realized that there was a problem that needed to be addressed, and that was he needed to change his fighting style. He can't stand there and trade shots with guys anymore because I hate using this term, but he's got a suspect chin. If you hit him hard enough, you'll turn his lights out. So he saw that that was a problem, and he started training his jiu-jitsu a lot more. And that shows the LeVar Johnson fight, that was one-sided. And then he tapped out, he choked out Mitrione after that too. And he got robbed. He got robbed versus that Arlovsky fight. Given I rewatched it, and I can see how you can argue that Arlovsky won, but I think that Big Brown took that, and he still takes a lot of shit because of those 2 knockout losses. But I honestly think that Travis Brown is just too much. He's too much for him too. Oh, and going back to Brendan Schaub too, he's normally bigger than his opponents, being 6'4" and so big. That's not an advantage he's going to have in this fight because Travis Brown is 6'7", and he's huge. So yeah, that's an advantage he's not going to have. That's taken away from him. He's not a particularly excellent wrestler, in my opinion. I don't think he's excellent, but he's a good grappler, if that makes sense. Like, he doesn't have really, really solid takedowns, in my opinion. Given that takedown he got on Arlovsky in the 3rd round, I believe that looked really, really sharp. But Arlovsky doesn't have those elbows that Brown does. I mean, if this goes to the cage, like if he's digging for a leg, he's going to start throwing those elbows. And he ended 2 fights with those. He knocked out Josh Barnett with those and Gonzaga with those. So I don't think we're going to see Brendan Schaub like pushing him against the fence to try and take him down that way. But yeah, I think Travis Brown, he should take it. Like, realistically, like, he should take it. I don't think he's going to blow Schwab. Yeah, I don't think he's going to blow Schwab out of the water, but I do think he's going to either stop him like late or win a workman-like decision.
Jordan.
So I agree actually almost identically with what Cody said, and I'm surprised he said it because I thought it was kind of going to be a radical idea. I think I think either Brown finishes Schaub in the 1st round, or I think Schaub wins. I think Schaub is surprisingly athletic. I think probably hardcore fans realize how athletic he is, but I think Travis Brown might be a little taken aback how athletic Brendan Schaub is. I think he'll be able to get the fight to the ground if he needs to, just based on that athleticism, and I think he's just good enough at wrestling, and I think he's smart enough to avoid getting pinned up against the cage and taking those elbows to the temple. That being said, he does have a very suspect chin, and Brown is a really dynamic striker. He's got a lot of cool highlight reel KOs on his record. Remember the one Stefan Struve coming in like a maniac, and Brown just put his lights out. So I mean, Brown's a great striker and hits really hard, man. So I'm gonna pick Brown by knockout, but I would not be surprised if Brendan Schaub wore Travis Brown out because I know Schaub's got better cardio than Travis Brown does.
Here, mateys.
Sorry. I just wanted to say it hasn't been mentioned either, but he's not Schwab, but Brown. He's training at a different camp now, and typically when a fighter does that, we don't see like the actual real improvements until like their 2nd or 3rd fight. So that could be a big factor here.
Yeah.
I'll counter that. I agree with that we don't see the changes, but I don't think he'll look worse. I don't think he'll look. I think that the Schaub we saw versus Verdum, that Schaub, I mean not the Schaub, the Brown we saw versus Verdum, I think that Brown kills Schaub either way. Well, this Brown might just be slightly better, or may potentially end up being better. I think that what we saw then versus the last versions of each other, Brown kills Schaub, in my opinion.
But didn't Brown break his hand and his foot in that fight?
I think he broke his hand. I don't know about the foot, and I don't know how far. If it was the foot, I think he did injure his leg or something, but I don't think it was early. I can see it though.
What'd you say, Cody?
I said he broke his rib, but that was probably from a.
It was from that first body kick that Verdum threw. It broke his.
Verdum got those big lumberjack thighs, man.
Yeah.
Kicking you like a fucking tank. But yeah, I'll say that I agree that you really don't see the improvements, but I don't think he'll be any worse. And I mean I get everything you're saying. I agree that he gets lots of flack for this. I don't think he's a bad athlete, but I don't think he's the. I am a strong believer in there are different kinds of athletes. And while I do believe there's people in general, people can be more athletic than each other, very clearly. But I think there are different kinds of athleticism, and I don't think that Brendan Schaub, not that he's the wrong kind, I don't think he is the best kind of athleticism. I don't think his attributes are technically the best, as some people say. He's the athlete. I think Brown didn't go to the NBA, but he was in basketball at a very high level. Schaub went to the practice squad in the NFL. I'd say the NFL is more athletic than the NBA. People can argue about that all day. That's personal opinion. Both very athletic. We can agree. I think that Matt Brown. I mean, not Matt Brown. That's wrong. Travis Brown is better fit for MMA, and I think he's shown it, and I think he's more technical. I think Schaub has one advantage, maybe two, so like 1.5. I think he has the better offensive wrestling, just a bit. Maybe slightly better than Brown's defensive wrestling. And I think his jiu-jitsu is better. With that said, I think Brown is physically way stronger. I think he's faster. I think he's a better athlete, better striker. I'd say Schaub's chin is pretty weak. Not to hate on him. I think it's the heavyweight division. Anyone can sleep anyone. The people who have slept him are good at hitting people in the face.
Yeah.
But Brown's also a person who's really good at hitting people in the face. And you look at his losses, pretty good people. Pretty good badasses themselves. Schaub has some losses to some people who are also good, but also people who every person that has beaten Schaub, I think for the most part, Brown would be a favorite over by a pretty decent margin. Maybe not Roy Nelson, maybe because Roy Nelson's fucking crazy. Maybe Ben Rothwell because he's had a reinvention of himself after knocking out Overeem. Still very awkward. Maybe Orlovsky, I don't know. But I think Brown's just going to sleep him. Nothing against Schaub. I enjoy Schaub. I like him a lot. I want him to go far. I don't think he's going to beat him. I think that most guys coming in at like NFL kind of backgrounds, like real athletes coming, will do well, and I think he has shown they can do well. I think Matt Mitrione is a better athlete than Schaub, but Schaub is way more dedicated, or not way more dedicated. He's dedicated himself to the grappling game, and Mitrione, while I don't think he hasn't dedicated himself, I think that Schaub has been in it longer. I could be wrong, but I think he actually has been in MMA longer. I think he's put in more time, and I think that's why we saw that. I think Mitrione is the better athlete, and he got the one win there. But I'm going to lean Brown, and yeah. Also, I don't think Andrei Arlovsky I don't think that was a robbery. I think that was a draw. Again, a draw. There we go.
One thing I will say, I think you hit it on the head. I think Mitrione probably is the better athlete than Schaub. I think Schaub takes to coaching better. I think he takes to training better. I think he's. I hate saying it, I think he's a real gym rat. You know, like he's always in there trying to pick stuff up. So. I guess one-word answers go through who's taking who, because I don't think I got a clear pick from John or.
Oh, I'm taking Brown.
Brown, okay. Cody, who are you taking?
Big Brown.
Big Brown, okay.
And that was
like I want Brown to win. I'm on you on the wanting him to win. I don't think.
One word, who wins? One name.
Brown.
All right, and I'll take Brown too.
Hey, real quick, it seems like from the podcast, as accurate as that may or may not be, that if Brendan had a problem throughout this training camp, it was from overtraining. He said that like everyone in this camp was telling him to calm down, and that he was consistently training way too much. So
was Brown or Schaub?
Schaub.
He's the guy. He's the guy that's always in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Just throwing that out there.
Sweet. Next fight. Oh my gosh.
The co-main.
Anthony Pettis versus Gilberto Melendez. Who's next on this? Did I do the last? I did the last one, right? No. No, Cody did. John's next.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I did.
Well, honestly, like, man, this fight, it could headline any card, but I don't even know where to start, honestly. Like, I'm so excited for this fight. Like, honestly, Gilbert Melendez, he's never been finished, as far as I know. He's never been like knocked out. You know what I mean? Like, he's lost decisions. I don't think he's ever been finished.
No.
Nope.
Actually, no, he's never been finished. So he's tough as nails, and I do like when the fight happened. I had my money on Benson Henderson, but let's be serious. Like, Gilbert Melendez probably won that fight. You know what I mean? In my opinion, he did more than enough to win that fight. I do think that was one of those fluky decisions that Benson Henderson got. He got like 3 really, really close decisions in his way. Like the Edgar one, or the second one. Like, I don't think Benson won the. Sorry, I don't think he lost the first Edgar fight. A lot of people do. That's weird, but I do think the second one was super, super close, right? Yeah, I thought that he could have lost that, and then he could have lost the Melendez fight, and then he could have lost the Josh Thompson fight. So yeah, but back to Melendez, I think that he has the style that can beat Pettis. Honestly, like if you go back and look at the Clay Guida fight, given that was like, my God, 3 years ago. Yeah, and he's a much, much better fighter now. Gilbert Melendez can do that to Anthony Pettis. Like, the key to beating him, in my opinion, is pressure. And if you don't give him room to throw kicks, yeah, that takes away like one of his big weapons. And I think that Gilbert Melendez is strong enough and a good enough wrestler to be able to take him down and keep him down and stay out of his slick submissions. But that's not to say that if that does happen, that Anthony Pettis can't tap out Melendez. Like, there's a first for everything, right? And keep in mind, too, Gilbert Melendez has been around for, like, Jesus Christ. He's been around since 2002, right?
Yeah.
He's only 32 years old. So he should be entering his peak right now, where, like, Pettis, he's 27. He's also in his peak, obviously, but he's just not as consistent. You know what I mean? Like, he's spending time in the gym training, obviously, but he's not, like, in fight camps like Gilbert Melendez has been, given he's coming off a fairly big, like, layoff, too, right? Like, He hasn't fought since, like, October of last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess long story short, I'm going to pick Melendez. I'm going to pick the upset just because he is a phenomenal fighter. He's a world beater. And, yeah, I mean, I just don't believe in Anthony Pettis. Like, he's an amazing fighter, but in this fight, I believe in Gilbert Melendez, and I think he takes it by a pretty close decision.
Jordan!
That's interesting. You know what? I'm not a huge Pettis fan. Like, not that I don't like him, but I see a lot of challenges for him in the road. I don't think Melendez is one of them. I think Pettis will beat Melendez. I haven't been that impressed with Gil Melendez, to be honest with you. I know he's a great fighter. The Henderson fight was close, but I do think Bendo won that fight. His fight, man, if Diego would have hit Melendez 20 seconds earlier, he would have stopped it. He would have ended that fight, I think. Like, it was so close to the end of that fight, and Gil was almost out. Diego dropped him at the end of that 5th round, like, almost out of it. And I mean, Gil was dominating that entire fight. He won 4.5 rounds of that fight, and then the last 2.5 minutes when they started brawling, Diego blasted him, man, and dropped him. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember it clearly.
I remember the first 2.5 rounds of domination.
Yeah. Oh, was it only a 3-round fight?
Yeah.
It was a 7-round thriller.
My bad. I thought it was a main event fight.
I just wanted to add, though, the only reason why Diego Sanchez hit Gilbert Melendez is because he abandoned his strategy and he chose to fight like that.
Yeah, that's clear.
Well, I mean, that's a detriment to Melendez. That shows low fight IQ, in my opinion. Like, if you abandon your game plan, and if he does that with Pettis, is what I'm saying. Like, if he abandons his game plan and goes into bang with Pettis is gonna knock him out, man.
Yeah, it's a bad look for him if he does that.
Yeah, I agree. He has the skills to beat Pettis. Pettis, obviously, we haven't seen in forever because he's been so injured. But since the Guida fight, he improved drastically. And you could even argue that he won that Guida fight, off his back. I don't think so. I think Guida won that fight. I think Guida won that fight, but you could make a very good argument that Pettis won that fight off his back. But since then, I think Pettis has really, really impressed me by just improving every fight. So I think it could be a very, very close fight. I could see Melendez winning, but I just feel like Pettis has the tools to win this fight early. I do think Pettis will get the finish. I think he'll TKO him in probably the 3rd or 4th round.
I just got a quick question for everyone before we continue on with the panel. In your opinion, is Anthony Pettis the pound-for-pound best fighter?
No.
What?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, no. Dana White said that Anthony Pettis is
he's trying to
best
Well,
fighter.
okay, I'll put it like this: the guy who holds the 155-pound belt, in my opinion, could be considered that because I think it is the most competitive weight class, and whoever wins, it's more of an accomplishment to win that belt than any other belt, in my opinion. The guys that hold that belt the longest are, in my opinion, the best fighters we've ever seen. Like Bendo is up there with BJ Penn. People can give him shit for close fights. You don't defend that belt, that whatever close decisions. You get in that weird Dos Anjos fight. I thought that should have gone on a little bit longer. He got dropped, whatever. But still, the dude never looks out of a fight. And all those guys at 55, Frankie Edgar, GOAT material. BJ Penn, GOAT material. Jens Pulver back in the day, even though he should not be fighting, and he's fighting again. Oh my God! But
is he fighting at bantamweight though?
I don't know where he's fighting, but he's fighting again. He's fighting again at 1FC. Probably a bantam, maybe feather. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm just saying, I hope it's money things, and I feel for him because he's a legend. What I'm saying is the guys that hold that belt are the best to ever fight, in my opinion. It's the weight class. It's the numbers game. The most men fall at that weight class in general. Okay, but yeah.
Who do you have?
My turn? Is it my turn?
Yeah, go.
Okay, I was responding to his thing about the pound for pound because that's currently no, kind of bullshit. Potentially yes. Like he could win. Like if he wins 3 fights, if Pettis were to defend the next 3 times or whatever. Versus someone winning
doing it.
Yeah. If he does it, but versus someone, say, at light heavyweight, winning 6 fights in a row, I'd say it's more impressive. But John Jones is already so far ahead. I'm not comparing him directly. I'm saying weight class to weight class, not fighter to fighter. But on Pettis, I think Pettis is going to starch him. I think that Gil is actually Pettis is a terrible matchup for Gil. Well, I think Gil is perennially top 5, has been for the last 8 years, 8 years, something like that. I think that while he did choose to fight that way with Melendez, I don't think he has his wrestling offensively. I don't think he's going to be good enough to do much, and I don't think his grappling is going to be enough to do much. Maybe the wrestling will get him there. I don't think he can do much once he's there. Because Bendo, I thought, while it was close, I thought people always argue about that fight. I thought he did more damage, and he stopped Melendez's wrestling. And I think Pettis has shown his wrestling's really good, and then submitted Bendo, who I'm an enormous fan of, if that's not clear. But I admit his faults. He has lots of close fucking fights. I can see those arguments everywhere. But I'm saying is Gil Melendez, I feel like, is slightly worse than Bendo in most places. And I think he's in one of the main places. I think he's slightly worse. Is a raw athlete, and I think what it's going to take to beat Pettis is someone who is a vastly superior athlete to Pettis himself. And I don't think Gilbert Melendez is that. Well, he can't be that. You don't get more athletic. I mean, you can get better at shit, but inherently he is not more athletic. I think he has the potential to beat Pettis if Pettis slips, or if maybe his wrestling is better than I am assuming. But outside of that, I think Pettis knocks him out in the first 2 rounds, roughly. I think he's just too good. I think the guy that's going to beat him is going to be Khabib. I think Khabib is everything we're thinking Melendez is outside of striking. Like, everything that needs to beat Pettis, Khabib has, and Melendez won't have it. He just doesn't have it. It's going to take someone who's so good at wrestling and so good at grappling that they just completely nullify him. And I don't think Melendez is going to have to take him down, and I don't think he's going to be able to do much from there if he even gets him there. Voila. Cody. Cody.
That was great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's my opinion. I'm going Pettis. Yes, Carl.
Yeah. All right.
Give us your thoughts. Come on.
Let me give you my thoughts on the matter here. Okay. So, what John was saying about Bendo and his fights. I mean, you might as well just score those draws. As far as his second fight with Edgar, his fight with Gill, his fight with Thompson, they may as well be draws. They're close enough they could be either way. I scored each one of them, except for the Thompson one because I wasn't paying enough attention to that fight to give it an accurate judgment. But I scored it for Bendo against Gill. I scored it for Bendo against Edgar both times. Granted, I am biased towards Bendo because I like him. But still, like what Jordan was saying, I don't understand the Gilbert Melendez hype, so to speak. I've never been particularly impressed by him outside of his wins against Aoki and Kawajiri, and Masvidal too as well. But his fight against Thompson, his most recent one at least, I thought he lost. I thought he lost 3-2 against Thompson.
Agreed.
Against Bendo, I thought he lost. Against Diego, you can arguably score that a draw. But I wouldn't. But you can make the case.
I don't really think. I don't think you could score that third round at 10-8.
Agree to disagree. But my point is that I just don't think Melendez has the tools to put Anthony Pettis away or even to grind out a decision, even if a close decision against Pettis. Granted, he is a phenomenal fighter. He deserves to be in the top 5, no doubt. But I don't think he should be fighting for the title right now. I agree with Casey. I think Pettis is going to finish him in the first 2 rounds.
Wait, who do you think deserves it if he doesn't deserve it? I don't say I agree or disagree. I'm saying if he doesn't deserve to fight him, who do you see as the person who's more deserving?
I don't remember who was around who.
TJ Grant. TJ Grant.
Well, yeah, Grant's out with an injury. I will say
Grant was out with an injury. Melendez kind of got it by deep. Actually, you know what? I think when he got it, it was deserved, but.
Shit's changed. It's changed.
Since then, so much has changed, and I think he should have been replaced.
I will say,
but hey, you know, he deserves a chance, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's weird if you look at Melendez since he came over. It's kind of a strange situation because he came over and he fought Henderson that was for the belt, right? Their fight was that was his first fight over from Strikeforce, and it was a close fight, but he lost, so he's 0-1 in the UFC. He goes out, he beats Sanchez, he's 1-1, and now he's fighting for the title again. So it's strange. It's the type of thing where he's a top 5 guy. Other people are either occupied or injured, so there's really no one else to put there. So I get what you're saying as far as like doesn't deserve it, but it's like he was the only guy there at the time.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's really what I mean by it. Not that he
has the most clout.
Deserve it because he was he's certainly a top fighter, no doubt. He's an elite lightweight, which is an incredible feat in itself.
It's just strange to be like the title contender is 1-1 in his last 2 fights.
That's what it is. That's simply what I meant by it. Yeah, I said it in probably a way I shouldn't have, but that's what I meant by it. It's just.
I agree with that. That's a better way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I asked you so you could clarify. That's good.
Right.
And we can go more than this. This is the main co-main. We can go more in depth if we have more thoughts on this if you guys want.
No way, man.
Time to ball mine.
No way.
Let's go to the main event.
Okay, we're going to the main event. Okay, Jordan just dis-fucking-peered. Okay, we have Johnny Hendricks versus Robbie Lawler. Okay.
Jordan, give us your thoughts.
Jordan, where is he? I guess. Okay, who was
sorry?
last?
Sorry. I was fiance duties. I had to talk for.
I got you, fiance.
Don't worry, I took care of it.
He muted me now. Sorry.
Who started the last one?
I believe I did.
Code.
I think he did.
John
did.
John did. Okay, Jordan, start us off.
Okay. Hendricks Lawler 2. So I picked Lawler in the first fight, and it was a close fight. I do think Hendricks won it. This time around, I've been on the Hendricks train the entire time just because he really impressed me in that last fight. I thought Lawler would knock him out. But after watching the weigh-ins, man, Hendricks didn't look great at the weigh-ins, man. And I guess maybe I just haven't watched him weigh in a while. But Cody was kind of saying there was some speculation to his camp was really expecting him to miss weight. he looked very surprised that he actually made weight. So I don't know if it was a really tough cut for him. You know,
actually, somebody posted on Reddit. Somebody was there at where the fight's taking place, and they're saying like huge rumors that he had like a really really tough weight cut.
Yeah, he looked like genuinely surprised that he actually made weight when they announced his weight. Like it looked like he already won the fight. Like he was like, oh my god. Yeah. So I don't know, man. That's and Lawler from all accounts has had a pretty solid weight cut and a pretty solid camp, and I don't know, man. I'm gonna take Hendricks again by decision just because Lawler in his last fight didn't impress me the way I thought he would. I thought he would kind of steamroll Matt Brown because I'm nothing against Matt Brown. He's a super tough game opponent, but I didn't see him having much for Robbie Lawler. But he made it a competitive fight and actually tagged Lawler a little bit and put some hands on him. So I'll take Hendricks by decision. Yeah, hopefully it's a good fight and everyone stays healthy.
Okay, I'm coming in for the man, the one, the only, the Big Rig Hendricks. Okay, I think Hendricks is, outside of pure boxing, just vastly superior. Not vastly, because we saw a close fight, but I think he's just superior. And I think the way Lawler gets to people, or how he got to Hendricks, is he just doesn't stop. He's so relentless. And Hendricks got rocked, and he had to come back, and he showed the heart of a champion, all that. I was there live. It was amazing. It was the most epic shit I've seen, and I've seen some epic shit. Okay? It was amazing. One of the most back-and-forth fights. But I think Hendricks, outside of that pure boxing, is just superior to Lawler. Lawler, with that, they both have good power, but I think that the thing we saw with the Matt Brown fight is Robbie got taken down a decent bit in that fight. Matt Brown was taking down Lawler, if we all remember that fight. He got a good double leg against the cage, held him there for a while. He got some good trips, and I think we can all agree, even in MMA, Hendricks is a vastly superior wrestler to Lawler. And if we remember that first fight, he didn't shoot. He didn't really shoot. He shot at the end to secure that round. You know that's why he did it, and we get it. It was so close. He guaranteed his win right there. You knew how close it was. But we know he didn't use it that whole fight. Maybe it was to prove a point. I don't know what it was, but we knew he had it in him. And we saw in the Matt Brown fight a dude who has no wrestling background, with not the physical strength of a guy like Johnny, took him down pretty consistently with some weird shit too. And he landed some bombs on Lawler. Well, I thought Lawler clearly won the fight. He did not look the Lawler of what maybe we thought he should be, and what his true potential is. Maybe it was an off fight. Maybe it was. I don't know. I thought the Ellenberger fight also kind of weird. Well, I thought he clearly won. He could have finished that in the first round. I don't know. Maybe he wanted more time for his sponsors. I don't know what was going on. He let Ellenberger back into that fight a couple times. Ellenberger never rocked him, but he got hit a couple times. And I don't know what it is. I think he's more hittable than we want to. We have this idea of Robbie Lawler that's not as hittable, or his chin's really good or something, but he's so hittable, in the sense of the elite versus the elite, not lower guys. I mean, Robbie Lawler is elite as fuck. He is up there. Okay, but I think Hendricks is gonna lay down some bombs. I think he's gonna. The first sense he thinks he's rocked or anything against Lawler, he takes him on. I think he might out of the front just set up takedowns and take him down, and I think he's just going to beat him. Lawler, who was a good wrestler in high school, we're talking NCAA champ, and we're talking about a stocky, explosive dude who has the balance of a god. You saw him versus GSP that slid across the mat and just stayed up and then reversed it on GSP.
It was an EA MMA glitch.
Yeah, that was the title of the GIF, if you remember. That's how good his wrestling is, and he doesn't even use it all the time because he's so strong and he hits so hard. I think that we're seeing Johnny Hendricks not use his full potential. I think he knows this time he might have to, or he's just going to. I think I'm not saying it's going to be dominant. I can see Lawler knocking him out. I can see a lot of things happening. I'm just going to go up bigger because I think he is the better athlete, and I think he's got the more upside in his career, as a couple of guys have said. I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see either a 5-round decision win for him, or maybe a mid, not late, but a mid, maybe 2-3 round TKO if he gets on the ground or does something crazy. Other than that craziness, Robbie Lawler knockout or something. But yeah, Hendricks for me. Cody.
I got I thought Robbie Lawler won the first fight. Hold on a second. I thought Robbie Lawler won the first fight, to be honest with you. But I don't think he's going to win this one. I'm a huge Robbie Lawler fan. I'm rooting for him. I hope he wins. But given the circumstances of the first fight, considering that Hendricks tore his bicep early on in the fight, and which would definitely affect his wrestling ability as far as in shooting double legs and being able to contract him and so on, stuff like that, if that's the right word. But yeah, I think Hendricks is going to use his wrestling a little bit more in this fight, mix it up well with his strikes as well, also, and shoot, man, maybe even see him TKO Robbie Lawler or something along those lines. But I'm really hoping Robbie Lawler's going to win. I think he definitely has the tools to do so, as evident in the last fight. But like you just said, Casey, Lawler wasn't as impressive as we may have been expecting him, as we may have expected him to be, or were hoping he was going to be against Matt Brown. For those of us who were thinking that he was going to, that he won against Hendricks and that he might win again against Hendricks, so that had he win that fight, which he did, in reference to Brown. But yeah, so he didn't look that great against Brown, relatively speaking, and given the circumstances of Johnny Hendricks in the first fight, and GSP even mentioned that he didn't look as explosive as he did in his previous fights, as he did against Lawler. I just don't think that Lawler's going to end up winning this one. If he does, I think he's going to win by knockout, not by decision. But I see Hendricks winning this one.
John.
Yeah, there's not really much I can add. You guys basically covered everything. The torn bicep. Okay, so in a nutshell, somebody asked why they're having a rematch so quick, and somebody wrote, Lawler hurt Hendricks multiple times. Hendricks won by a round. Lawler dominantly won 2 more fights after the loss, won by TKO. The next runner-up is McDonald, who Lawler already beat, right? And that sums it up. But I wanted to say the bicep injury is huge, right? That's huge. That affects everything. His offense, his defense, his wrestling. It's huge. I was gonna pick Johnny up until the shitty weight cut thing. That's huge. Lawler faded hard in the 5th round, right? And if Johnny doesn't have the cardio that he needs to last until the 5th round, if it even goes that far, I mean, man, that's huge. Again, I'm going to be the lone dissenter, and I'm going with Lawler. I think the weight cut, unless Johnny knocks him out of the park in the 1st or 2nd round, it's going to be a shitty fight for him. That was a shitty cut. I'm going to pick Lawler. I think Lawler outlasts him and takes a decision this time.
I can see it.
Yeah, lone dissenter 2 times. I'm actually putting a small bet on both of the underdogs in that fight because it's paying, good odds. It's paying 7-1. 7-1.
I would do it. It's a good bet. It's a good bet. It's possible. I have to say, I think the bicep injury, like you said, it's really important. I don't think people realize how important. And the thing is, it didn't happen late. Yeah. Like, he fought the majority of that fight, and while it was close, we don't know. But Johnny Hendricks, with that ability, like in other fights, you could say, oh, it came late or it didn't affect as much. A bicep tear, I don't know. I've never had one. I know people have had them and seen them compete while it happened, like in wrestling matches and stuff. Mm. It is crazy. The fact that man did that much damage to Robbie Lawler, because he rocked him after. It's like not as crazy as Chuck Liddell getting knocked out by Franklin with his broken arm, but it's not that far away. If you know how bad a bicep, like a real torn bicep is. I'm really impressed by it. I don't think people bring it up enough, how important that is. Does that mean automatic win? And I also like to say Johnny Hendricks looks like shit at every weight cut. Like every weight, he looks like shit. And doesn't look like shit. He doesn't even look that bad. I watched it. He looked surprised, whatever. But he always looks that way, and he doesn't look the worst. I mean, if you go look at it, he doesn't even look like the worst weight cutter that night. But he never looks good. I'll admit that. And he did look surprised. I have to say he's the kind of guy who's got the ability to. He will always have cardio. I think he's never not looked like he's had cardio. I mean, we've seen fights where he ends fights in 40 seconds. 5 seconds, whatever it is. But he's also gone the distance with a lot of guys, and he never looks sluggish, ever. I don't think you could ever name a moment where Johnny Hendricks looked tired. I don't think any of us can. And I don't believe he will. I think he's a guy, wrestling does that to guys, and he's an elite wrestler. Yeah. And I'm not saying this to talk him up. I'm just saying those points that you brought up, I think they can be counteracted by a lot of things we've seen in the past. And I think he's one of those wrestlers that he always was one of those wrestlers who didn't get the pin real fast. He would do crazy shit. The matches would go long, and he would find a way to win. And he's shown that in MMA. He will go to the bitter end and do whatever it takes. And I think while Robbie can the dude can knock out heavyweights too. I'm not going to pick either way. I just think that wouldn't use the weight cut as the sole thing. He looked like this in the last one. Maybe not surprised.
Couple questions for you guys. Number one, say it's a dominant win for one or the other. So it's like a knockout, not a freak thing, but it's just a beating and then a finish. Say it's a dominant win. Who's next in line?
It has to be Rory McDonald. It has to be.
He was promised it. He was promised it already.
Is it Rory? Okay.
He's the biggest draw at that weight class probably after these guys.
Say Lawler wins. Is there much of a and I agree Rory deserves it and he's going to get the next one, but is there a lot of hype going into that considering Lawler and McDonald's first fight wasn't very competitive?
I thought it was really competitive.
Really?
It was a split decision, yeah.
Oh yeah. Was it really? Sorry, I was thinking. My fault. I was misremembering that fight and I was thinking about the Ellenberger McDonald fight.
I thought almost he won. I would say that fight's a draw.
Yep.
I would say it's a draw.
So
Lawler came on strong at the end.
Totally misremembered. Sorry, my bad, guys.
And he squeaked it out. He got out. I mean, if I'm remembering correctly, Lawler got outstruck most of that fight. From a technical aspect.
Yeah.
He got Rory's jab was nasty.
Rory's jab's always nasty, man.
Yeah, and he was using it against Lawler really effectively. Not gonna say that's gonna be useful. Hendricks, he doesn't really jab.
No,
but
that's exciting. I like Rory a lot.
Yeah. What do y'all think about what do y'all think about lightweight? Your same question for lightweight.
That's a really good question.
Lightweight, that's the weight class. Yeah, Khabib deserves it. Khabib should be next, but he's
he can't come off that super long wait he can't fight for the title right away though. He's got to have another fight.
I want him to.
Yeah.
But who else is ahead of him? Who even remotely deserves it ahead of him?
If Cerrone goes out and knocks out Miles Jury, you could make an argument for him.
I couldn't. As much as I love Cerrone, he's lost to too many people in this route. Not recently. He fights so much, but I mean, he's lost to a lot of the guys that are ahead of it. There's a lot of guys he's lost to still. I just couldn't RDA Rafael Dos Anjos. You couldn't. That's what I'm saying. If Dos Anjos is injured, you can make a case for Cerrone. As long as Dos Anjos is healthy and willing to take the fight, you could. I don't see how any logical.
But isn't Dos Anjos is fighting somebody?
Yeah, I was gonna say if he beats Benson Henderson,
he did beat him. He did beat him.
Oh, sorry, no.
Nate Diaz.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Cerrone?
No, Dos Anjos is fighting Nate Diaz.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure he will, handedly, but that is, I mean, he has to win, obviously, and I get, they're making the fight because it's been taking so long. The dude wants to get paid. I get that. Mm-hmm. He's taking a fight against a guy who's been gone forever, so he's probably thinking he's going to blow him off, and I think he will.
I agree with you. Nurmagomedov is the biggest challenge in that weight class for anybody.
He's the scariest dude.
And he's dominated every fight he's been in.
He hasn't beaten scrubs or not. He beat Dos Anjos. Maybe people can call it a blanket. That dude took his back.
No, that was
everything on him.
That was one of the most impressive performances. He made Dos Anjos look like a mediocre fighter.
That's how you win fights. That's how you're exciting with grappling without and he did strike in it, but I mean, you can win a fight dominantly, exciting that way. People called it wet blanket, but that's how you do it with grappling. That is how you win. He has arguably 10-8 rounds there. I mean, he was super dominant.
Do we know when he's going to be healthy?
He tore his MCL, I think. I think he's going to be out till March.
I thought it was an ACL and an MCL.
It could be both, and if it is, I would say move it to April, to where he could fight. But the thing is, this happened a while ago. He's already been working out a lot.
Well, he fought Dos Anjos in April of this year.
And he toured after that. He's been out for 6 months.
Yeah, and usually for those, isn't it a year?
Yeah, it's a year to 9 months. Yeah, okay. Somewhere in there. So, yeah. You've seen people come back in 8 months. You've also seen people come back in a year and 4 months. He looks good. I'm not telling him to come back early, but I'd expect him to return probably around April if it's a full ACL. Yeah, I agree. But the thing is, I don't know if he'll be ready by April or if that's when. I know he'll be training way before that. I don't know when the fight's going to be made. He's probably going to be. He won't be the first person, but he is by far the most deserving of that shot. Next is probably RDA. Even though I thought that last fight was really fucking weird, the dude keeps beating people. Outside of Khabib, he keeps beating people.
And he keeps getting better too. This is like
he looks good. Yeah. Almost knocked out fucking Cerrone. That's what I'm saying. Unless Dos Anjos loses. I mean, who else is that? I mean, there's tons of guys, but who's like TJ Grant? If he was injured, another person. If TJ Grant came back, I'd put him above Cerrone and RDA.
Yeah.
If he was cleared to fight, I would put him there. I get he's coming off of over a year layoff, deserves it more. I take if the fighter wants it, give it to him if he deserves it. I get wanting to come back and get a fight back. I totally get that. But the dude has an impressive run himself. The most, arguably. I don't know. The fight's filled with killers, man. Filled with killers.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the rankings.
I have the rankings in front of me, and really, honestly, other than like Nurmagomedov and Dos Anjos and Cerrone, you can't really give it to anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People were saying Barboza. I was like, come on.
Not yet.
Come on. The dude's been knocked out by too many people.
But
you need to win like 3 more.
Yeah, and you have to beat 3 more top 10 guys before that's a weight class.
I wouldn't say 3 more top 10s. I'd say 2 more. If he wins 2 more impressive wins, then you can. He's easy to advertise. If that's what I'm saying, like.
Okay, I get that.
Easy one to advertise.
I'm gonna have to get going now. But
sorry, Cody.
Okay, bye.
Is there a companion tomorrow?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully.
I don't know who's available.
I might be able to join that one. If there is, I may be able to join. So
everyone message each other in the morning, and we'll figure that out.
All right.
All right. Sounds good.
See you, Cody.
Hey, see y'all. Good talking.
Bye, Cody. What were we talking about?
Nice meeting you, man. Take care.
Yeah, I was just saying. I agree that Barboza is not ready for one.
You think 2 fights, but I get that. But
I guess it depends what the fights are.
That fight puts him. If 2 fights from now, it'll probably be fall of next year when he's by that time those 2 fights are completed. Assuming he wins them both, probably fall that he'll be available for a fight. Fall or winter of next year. If he wins 2 in a row, that's still a pretty quick turnaround. Most guys don't fight that quickly. That means that after this Gill fight, that means Pettis will have taken 1 more fight, maybe 2. The way the timelines are going to work, Khabib will be ready by then. He might have already had a fight by then. Okay? Dos Anjos will be ready by then, assuming he wins. Cerrone, assuming he wins. I think he actually is going to lose. But assuming Cerrone wins, because I don't think you can make a case for Malzuri. I think he's still too early. Cerrone's got a way bigger name. If we're talking money is important to this, Cerrone's important to his name's going to pull more. So you have to put him above that. Assuming he wins, but he probably won't. I don't think. But the timelines aren't going to work.
Cerrone will beat Miles Jury.
I think he's going to take him down and beat him. Could be wrong. I think he's going to take him down. I think
it'll be a good fight.
I think it'll be a good fight. Miles Jury just looks really good. I think Miles Jury is just he's got better striking, but I think he's going to be that guy who, when Khabib, in my opinion, I think Khabib's going to take over. And when Khabib takes over, it's going to be like the Anderson Silva reign, kind of. It's going to be like that. I think he's just going to be there forever. Because literally no one has the wrestling at that weight class to fuck with him.
No, wrestling-wise, you're totally right. Like he is the most dominant grappler I've seen in a long time. In MMA.
If you can't stop him, you lose.
I will say though, he leaves himself open to a lot of countering. Like he leaps in with those.
But his last few fights, he hasn't. You can make examples of fights back in the UFC career.
Yeah.
His last 3 or so, he figured it out. He doesn't do it anymore.
I agree, and I'm as big as a Khabib supporter as anybody is, but
I'm obsessed. I
obsessed. I don't think I'm obsessed, but
he's what I call. He's the you got to realize when I find I'm obsessed with wrestlers MMA. He's the best example of an MMA wrestler who's exciting without having to be violently knocking people. Like Hendricks has the power. Khabib, I don't know if he has it. He's knocked out some people. We've seen him knock out some people, but I'm saying he doesn't have the Hendricks thing going on. But he's exciting with his wrestling, and I love it. He is the best example of wrestling in Sambo coming over and just being scary as fuck.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
I love it. I love it, and no one at that weight class can stop him. The only thing I think that's going to give him trouble might be Pettis with crazy bullshit. I think Gilbert Melendez versus Khabib would be so one-sided. Melendez could do something, but I think that'd be bad, man. I think that he just sits on him and just Russian wrecks on him, man. I think he does it to everybody, and I thought he'd do it to Bendo, and I was like, Bendo may be the champ right now when Khabib comes up. And the dude is Russians, man. Russia.
Well, Henderson's not going to be around at 155 much longer. He said he's going up to 170.
Yeah, I was just saying if he fought. I'm talking about way back when Khabib was coming up. Benson was just becoming the champ.
Yeah.
Like that's what like those timelines. Like if you go look at when they happened.
Nope, totally agree.
Yeah, I was like, he's holding the belt, and I was like, Bendo's the best. When Khabib gets there, he's gonna like, I don't know if back then he was able, but he's grown, and you can see it now. He's like, this guy is just so far ahead of everybody.
Guys, can I interject for a second?
Go for
Absolutely.
it, bring it on. I'm all for it. I know I'm just
real quick. Like if this just happened,
there was a robbery, wasn't there?
Yeah,
Michelle Watterson lost. Yeah.
Yeah, she got beat up, dude. She got beat up.
No, not that fight. Not that fight. Someone said there was a huge upset. I'm seeing it on Twitter.
Yeah, it was Michelle Watterson.
Yeah, it was that one, wasn't it?
Oh, wait.
She was a huge favorite.
Wow. Oh, was it? Okay, not an upset. Maybe I'm reading. I think they said it was like a bad judging decision. Not for this fight, though. Not the Watterson fight. I think it was like 15 or 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, well, Roxy Modafferi beat Andrea KGB Lee by split decision. I didn't see the fight. I just
Maybe that's it, because I don't know. I'm seeing lots of tweets that like if you bet on Roxy and someone else, it was like if you put $50, it was like you won $3,700 or some shit.
What?
Well, that main event, Watterson was an enormous favorite, dude. She got beat up and then choked out.
Wow.
Really? Well, her grappling's always been her weakness, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone.
Yeah, I guess, but she apparently, like, I was watching some highlights of it. She was getting tagged on feet too.
Yeah, she looks. Isn't she small for that weight class too?
Well, I mean, 105 is about as small as you can get. So yeah.
No, I know, but I mean, like Frankie Edgar. If
well,
he goes
right.
35,
No,
would
yeah,
still be small,
probably. She looks like a very small girl. I mean, most of those girls at that weight class are really small.
Yeah, I know girls that like there's like 5'1" maybe, and like 100 pounds is like heavy. Like I can see.
It's harder for girls to lose weight like guys do. Like their body type just retains water quicker. I guess we should probably get going. One last thing though.
Any weird questions? I like those questions.
Fight of the night prediction.
Ooh, hold on. Let me look at the card again.
I think it's gonna be Ferguson and Trujillo.
For fight of the night.
Yeah.
Good pick. I'm gonna pull the card back up too. Yeah,
based on the statistics of main cards and even more so main events and co-mains winning, well, I'm not sure it will be. Hendricks, Robbie Lawler, probably based on like statistically, the main attractions are more likely to win that award, those awards. If not, Clay Collard, Alex White.
Oh, good call.
If not,
yeah, I'll go. Man.
Raquel Pennington, Ashley Evans Smith. No.
No, man, that's a tough one because I see a lot of these ending quickly.
Yeah.
I picked a lot of like finishes. You know what? I'll say Pettis Hobar. I think Pettis might be able to keep it standing for.
Yeah, man, Hobar's striking is whoa.
Yeah, it's bad, but he's a pretty. He's
a good grinder in striking, but man, I think
I'll say Pettis Hobar.
Yeah, I can see it. He hits power. Dude will walk straight, and Pettis doesn't have a whole lot of power, so it'll just be like, no. But yeah, I guess that's it. Any closing thoughts, guys?
Yeah, just real quick. If you enjoyed what you heard, you can check out my site, www.mrjohndouglas.com. I post a lot of fights. I write. My music's on there. If you want to give me a follow on Twitter, it's at DJ John Douglas. Twitter. We also have the MMA latest news on Twitter. You can follow us at MMA latest NWS. There's no E there. If you like what you heard, let us know. If you didn't like what you heard, let us know how we can make it better.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Sweet.
Okay, this is Casey, John, Jordan, signing out.
Thanks for listening.
The weigh-in. See you tomorrow, guys. Have a good one.